Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Got to add myself to the studio there. Hey, well, welcome to Never Been Promoted. This is Thomas Helfrich, your host. I know you don't care, but I smell wonderful today. It's true. I really do. It's delightful, but not as delightful as the conversation we're going to have today with Jim. Jim Schleckser is the founder of the CEO Project, and he's helping high-performing CEOs kind of tackle growth challenges. And in this day and age, there's a lot of things going on to kind of grow your company, and there's a lot of things you got to be aware of. And it's not the CEO from the 80s or 90s even. It takes a different kind of knowledge set, but a lot of the same skills. So we'll talk about through some of those things in his journey. Just quickly, my one shameless plug I usually do is just understand our mission. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs get better at entrepreneurship by kind of cutting the tie, right, to all the stuff holding you back. And you know what you're talking about. Like, it's these fears. It's the stuff you make up, the excuses you make that seem justified. It's all stuff you got to get out of the way and get out there. Just go make a better version of yourself. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's going to help you quite a bit as well. The shameless plug, youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted. Enough of that. Let's bring on Jim. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful, Tom. How are you? And by the way, for the record, I smell wonderful as well. I smell like Johnny Depp. Just for the record.
Ooh, I'm not sure that smells good. I think some days he may smell like he may get like some kind of funky onion smell.
Yeah, it could happen. Or you're like a 3-day bender. It could happen. Yeah. And
this is not the icebreaker I saw coming. But I will ask you this.
Yeah.
I'd like your opinion on something. Every morning I go to the gym around 8. I try to leave by it's an immaterial fact. I'm there around 8. Occasionally, more than I'd like to care, a couple humans there who may have cultural differences, though we are in the United States, let's just focus on that culture, smell so bad.
Yeah.
I cannot get within 4 machines of them because it's like almost like, it's so bad.
Yep.
Is my sensitivity, should it be higher because there might be cultural differences, or since they're in a different culture, possibly they should be more sensitive that, hey, by the way, you do need a shower once a month at least to come here?
Yeah, I'm in the counterattack strategy on this one. I think you need to perfume yourself like a French prostitute and just have a cloud around
your car. Smell like a 12-year-old.
You got it. Yeah, like Axe. Just
Axe body spray them.
Yeah, just do it before you go in.
They'll
be like, "Oh my God, you smell terrible." You got to go right back at you, bro. You know, so.
It's horrible. I was like doing pull-ups and I'm like, by weight assisted, I'm not that strong, just to be clear. But I try when I do my back, I try 100 pull-ups in the weight assisted. And by the end of it, I'm pretty freaking tired and I don't need distractions, let alone a wave of that. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I actually play soccer with a guy from a different culture. He does perfume the heck out of himself, I think in replacement of a shower. I'm like, dude, I can smell you 10 feet away. You don't even have to be near me, and I know you're behind me.
I would sign up for 10 feet away because then I could use some of the materials I'd like to use during the thing. I'm talking like 10 yards, and it's like then people walk by and they're looking at me like, not me,
no,
not me. I'll be like checking my clothes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do. Okay. If
No,
you're a high
I think
performing
I think
CEO,
there's a business opportunity in here.
I don't know if there is, but I don't want to be the one to address it. I do not want to get into that. I just know at LA Fitness, the steam room when you walk by, no joke, smells like uh expired curry and feet, and it's hot and it's really bad. And I love curry, but not when you mix it with onions and feet smell. It's
Yeah,
bad.
and
It smells like
sweat
mushrooms
socks
that
and
go
yeah, I
mushrooms
can
that went
imagine.
bad.
You've now painted a picture I can smell with my nose. Thank you. I
And
will not.
that's why I was
This is
like,
gonna be like an earworm. It'll be a nose worm. It's gonna be there all day. Thanks.
it's gonna be like a nose hair that tickles you endlessly and you can never find it to pull it out
Yep.
because your fingers are too big to get to the
Uh,
back.
yeah.
Do you see what I did with this podcast? I've ruined it today. I've just
No,
ruined it.
we went right for the basement. This is good.
You never know what you're gonna get really out of me. And the fact that I haven't cussed yet is what I'm most impressed by. So I'm gonna give myself 2 dad points. All right. Jim, you want to brag about yourself? We'll stop talking about freshly baked smells.
I'm not sure I can do it after that, but
Just go brag about yourself. It's
yeah,
easier.
no. I run the CEO project. What we do is we work with entrepreneurs that are growing their businesses. We generally work with a little larger CEOs when they're really becoming a CEO. They're not just number one salesperson and CEO. And we help people that are good CEOs get great. Most of them, this is the biggest company they've ever run. They're running into constraints and kinks in the hose as they grow their business, and we help them figure out what they are and bust through them and continue the growth of their business. So we're all about growth. We're all about building your business. We're all about helping CEOs do that. So that's what I do. I've been doing it for almost 20 years. So I'm starting to get the hang of it. So,
20 years. So back me up. What did you like? Give me, establish the creds. I love the logo placement.
oh, whoops. Look at that logo.
I love it. I'm going to do mine. Though they don't sponsor the show, I
Ah.
like to do this. It's going to be my first cuss word. Here it is. Does water really taste better from a Stanley? Fuck yeah.
There you go.
I'm trying to get that to catch on. It's not working.
Yeah,
All right.
good.
How did you establish your creds behind this? Like, how did you trip, fall, or find this kind of as a thing to do?
So I, engineer, MBA, typical kind of background. And then I'm really young, 29 years old. I started running companies for other people as a hired gun. I ran small, medium, large groups of companies, international companies, public, private, did M&A. I kind of ran around the whole circuit. And that was super intentional because when I was young, I said, the key here is to learn and to become more intelligent and competent and in being a business person with a view that someday either I'll run something very large or I'll run my own business. For a whole bunch of reasons, we ended up on run my own business. But the learning was invaluable. And frankly, all the mistakes I made on somebody else's nickel, I didn't make on my own nickel. And I think that's a really important point when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur is how are you going to gain your chops and learn it in a way that you don't have to pay the price. Maybe somebody else will pay the price and then you can benefit from that going forward. So now that's the story. And during that time, I had CEO peer groups that I was involved in. I got immense value out of them as a leader. And I said, that's the business I want to be in. So that's what we do at the CEO Project. We build these, mastermind groups or advisory boards around CEOs and help them on their journey. And really, because I was a customer, right? And I loved it. So.
Well, you talk about how do you get your chops experience. You just get punched in the face the whole time, a few times until you enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
And then what did Elon Musk say? Then eat glass, and eventually you're like, I crave some glass.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons I started the podcast, one, I felt like I personally was learning. I'm an active networker on LinkedIn, and the way you're supposed to use, in my opinion, networking sites like LinkedIn, where you actually find 10 or 15 minutes with somebody just to say hello, just to say, hey, what do you do? Brag about yourself. Here's what I do. Yep. Awesome. Nice meeting you, or you're weird, or whatever, whatever happens from it. And I was getting enough meetings at the time, and truthfully, probably wasting some hours, right, of taking more than I should, but I was learning so much from the individuals of how they thought about their marketing or their business or coaching or whatever it is. And I was like, I'm going to do a podcast because I think this is a really good way to help entrepreneurs get better at entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And specifically, you become a CEO, though you're a very small one, of a company. And that every person who started a company that's big didn't start it with 50 or 100 employees, where you might be jumping in saying, hey, how can we take you to 10 million to 100, right?
Yeah.
So knowing those skills early is super important. So these one-on-one interactions. So what I'd say is if you think about where to get your things, one of the things we have coming out is the Cut the Tie entrepreneurial. It's a private network group. It's mine, right? It's where I want to bring in the right minds to help who have the right niche. Talk to me about what you've seen from building these masterminds, because I'm going to selfishly learn and apply it in building my company right now. So
well, two, and this goes back to the learning thing of all the interesting stuff happens when you're uncomfortable. Like people that are comfortable in their job, in their position, you're just not going to really make a lot of progress, honestly. But people that are constantly pressing the edge, like you reaching out to people that you didn't even know them, and you're like, let's talk. That's not comfortable for 99.9% of the people. Yet you did it and learned from it. And so you expanded yourself because you're uncomfortable. I think that's super important.
I believe one who goes through imposter syndrome is a healthy thing, because that means you now know you're somewhere new and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And this is consulting. You just got to know 1% more than the person you're talking to, and they'll realize, hey, that guy knows more than me, but they just don't know how much. The point is, I think imposter syndrome is where you have to get to feel to grow, because eventually the plant, that new vine, if you will, hardens and becomes like part of the tree. So that's wrong. Vines and trees.
Yeah,
what I mean.
I'll let you talk about wine later, but I think that being uncomfortable, staying one chapter ahead of everybody else is really talk to teachers. That's what they do. But just the power of the network. We did an exercise. It's like 2 weeks ago at our CEO summit. We brought all of our CEOs together, and we had almost 100 CEOs in the audience. We said, all right, we're going to play a game. 6 degrees of separation. Right. So you probably played 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, that game with the movies. Get from George Clooney to Kevin Bacon, or get from whatever. And he was in so many movies that it is not that hard to do. You can get there in a couple of steps, almost no matter who you name. We said we're going to try that in the audience. We said, all right, somebody name a person that you would like to talk to, that if you could spend time with them, you might be able to 5 or 10x your business. And people thought about it. Somebody, all right, I got somebody. And it was the CEO of a French energy company. Within 2 minutes, somebody in the audience goes, I know his chief of staff. I used to work with her. Boom, immediate introduction. Off we go. We had another one. A guy wanted to talk to this gamer. He's online. He's super popular, younger guy, but he's got millions and millions of viewers. And he's kind of the guy on this particular platform. He says, boy, if I could meet that guy, it would change my business. Somebody's hand goes up. I know his mom. So the power of the network in terms of where you can get, people just don't know who you want to talk to. If you put it out there and say, hey, I'm really trying to get a hold of Thomas, people go, geez, I was just on his podcast. Well, I'll introduce you, right? So people underestimate the value of the network. And this was what LinkedIn was supposed to be. And it never really became that, I think, because it got promiscuous and the trust level of the network went down. But when I know you, I've met you, just like you're doing, I go, yeah, I've met the guy. He seems like he's okay. I'll introduce you to him. So that was the difference. And there were about 6 or 7 other examples, but somebody wanted to meet Shaq. And another person goes, yeah, I know him personally. I used to go to school with him. Like, I mean, it was nuts. It was nuts, the connection with 100 highly connected people.
I think the measure sometimes of, and this is like a measure of AI, of a network group, is for them to be able to ask the question you didn't know you should have. And it's like, it's not, you should meet Shaq. Shaq's not going to help you. What you want to meet is his business manager, because that person actually knows all the people that Shaq you see have interaction with. That's who did it. It's knowing that I know the person. What your goal is this. You don't this. That's nice. That's good. That's vanity. But what you want is this person. Right. And here's why. It's knowing how to use their network to really accomplish and understand the goal. So there's this level. And one of the things, like I know, like with the group I'm forming, and we do it informally now, is that level of, I understand your goal and I understand my niche to it. Let me to help you understand how maybe you might want to tackle that problem slightly differently than, because what happens when you're from a distance, you don't see the little steps of, I see this and I see that. I want to go there. I think I got to start here. Like, well, actually you might want to, it's like, understand when you get in the weeds and the person understands the niche better. They understand some nuance and the different paths that could be taken. And I know I'm kind of being metaphoric with that, but that's the power of a network can really do when you have the right level of intimacy for it, that someone can take the time to learn that goal or that step and help you. LinkedIn doesn't work because it's too broad, too spammy. And that's why we had these mastermind groups or communities that come together that are there could be a lot of people in it. It just gets subgroups of, hey, I need, marketing or CEO or leadership
Right.
or whatever it is. That way you stay focused and not noised. And I
Right.
assume
And
when you
also
guys do this,
it
you
has
keep
to
it
be high
noise.
trust.
Yeah.
It has to be high trust. I think
Yeah.
that's super important. Yeah, no, that the value of the network is really profound. That was a direct example of it, but it happens all the time in the smaller groups where they meet somebody. I think what else is interesting, and you touched on it, it is really hard. It is really hard to solve your own problem when you're in the middle of the problem. But somebody
Oh,
comes
yeah.
from another industry, like you said, this phrase is, it's easy to solve everybody else's problems, right? Like, Thomas, what you need to do is X, Y, Z. Like, and funny, I'll just a real quick story. We had one CEO, the most scattered guy you've ever met in your life. I mean, he was all over the map in terms of his efforts. And he was giving advice to somebody else in the group, and he goes, Steve, what you need to do is focus. You need to pick one thing and be really good at it. And the whole group's head just turned in unison and go, what did you just say?
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly right. It's so easy to solve everybody else's problems, right? Even though, it's the same advice for you, right? Should have taken the same medicine.
Well, the funny thing is, someone like that. So anybody who's an entrepreneur that I've seen, there's very few that I've met that do not have entrepreneurial ADD. The ones that are very successful get us focused around a handful of things that all work together. And some say, hey, listen, this one thing is big enough to keep my attention to do it. And these three or whatever will be, it's if they have that right focus, that guy might be the most focused person in the group, just not realizing he has 4 or 5. And for everyone else's lens, like, oh my God, that's too much. For him, he's like, I could do 100. I'm doing these 5. Awesome. And if I got down to 1, I'd be bored and I would do it terrible because I'd lose interest. So it's that right balance of it. It's a great example though, of like, you can't call that, pot black. I mean, you're a kettle yourself.
For focus.
Yeah.
I say, you need actually OCD and ADD, right?
You do.
So yeah, you just once in a while you go, I'm going to go hyper focused and get like nutsy cuckoo on this one topic, go deep, 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 deep. And then I can jump out to something else.
I'll give you an example.
Like both going on, right?
We have a new service line where we're working with marketing agencies, and we're like, and the idea is I want to build a more to extend the mission of helping entrepreneurs, a tight like marketing directory that's very premium, that's the top 1% of agencies to work with. And we have an offer out there, and I'm like, you know what? It's a shit offer. It's like, it's not good. And I love this Alex Hormozi book. This is literally what I was working on today. I go to a notebook next. For those listening, I just showed the book in the notebook. And I worked with GPT. I was like, hey, do you understand the Hormozi's 100? And they're like, yes. And I went and built a new offer of what I think we can accomplish with it. And in 40 minutes, I knocked out something that I was like, because I had a podcast cancel. And I'm like, it's amazing when you put your focus in it. I turned everything else off. I did like a week's worth of work, I feel like, in minutes, because I knew exactly what to go do with it and how to do it. And then I got the teams working on it.
Yep.
And when you do that, that's a huge, powerful weapon. It's when you're distracted, it is by far your, 1,000 cuts, by death by 1,000 cuts, right?
We actually did a roundtable yesterday where we had a mastermind of CEOs working on value proposition. And a couple, we couldn't get to everybody. We had like 8 in the group, but 2 or 3 people we got to, and we went deep on their value prop. And the people in the room kind of looked like their customers, and they crafted some amazing value props that these people would never have thought of if they had not been in front of the group. Like they thought they were selling this, they were really selling this, right? I'll give you an example. One was building maintenance, and he goes, "Yeah, we sell building maintenance, kind of commoditized." I go, "No, you're not. You're selling tenant renewal services. Because if the bathrooms are clean and the place is amazing, the HVAC always works, they renew. If it's all that's crummy, they don't renew. And it doesn't matter how little you spent. That's irrelevant. You got to go refill the building. The landlord doesn't want that to happen. So you're here to make sure that tenant renews." And he goes, "Oh my God, that's a completely different way of thinking about it than they used to." So there was for example, on how we completely shifted their offer.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's the power of like your project, right? You put the right mastermind group together. Not only do you extend a network of 10 potential buyers, let's say, or at least level 2 buyers. What I mean by that is they know someone who will want that.
Yeah.
And if you go to those meetings with the idea, I'm here to learn, I'm here to help, the people around that are typically very mature and understand that person's actually seems solid. And because they're solid, I want to learn a little more what they do because I want to help them.
Yep.
I very rarely, I would guess that you put in the asshole CEO that's there for themselves, or they get one appearance and you just don't see them again. 'Cause you're like, that guy kind of.
We interview them pretty rigorously, and I've got a pretty good detector on on that.
Are they helpful?
Yeah. Well, arrogant, and can they take feedback, and are
But
they
they
a
can be
learner?
arrogant, but can they keep it together? I mean,
Well,
sorry.
actually, full blown arrogance. I don't know. I just can't. I had one guy. I was talking to him as CEO and great business, doing great, and he spent 20 minutes convincing me how smart he was and how much he didn't need what we did. I'm like, you know what?
You're
You're
right.
right. You're right.
I'm glad we clarified that. Can I get off this call now?
Exactly. It was
Sure.
a 20-minute. It was a 21-minute phone call. Goodbye.
That's pretty good. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Typically, I would have to guess it's the first time CEOs are the worst.
No, because they're scared to
No?
death. They're scared to death.
Mm,
If they can get past, like,
interesting.
I've got to look the right way, and they really become transparent, they go, your point, I don't know why I'm in this job, and I'm really not completely certain what to do. They're like, you're in the right place. We can help you. Right. But they're not going to admit that to everybody. But if they're really talking to somebody who helps CEOs get better and they're transparent, like, is the biggest business I ever ran. I'm not completely certain what to do every day. Perfect. We can help you with that. So, but the guys go, I got this. Okay. Good for you.
Okay. Good for you.
Let me know
Uh,
when you don't got it, then we'll talk.
so let's do some let's shift into some kind of like from a leadership tackling kind of these
Yeah.
growth challenges, right? And just from the interest of the audience, right? Of like you maybe you're a smaller CEO, you're just starting, and you want to think like the next level. What are some just it's a different CEO that runs Ford than runs an agency, a marketing agency of 10 people. Like it's a different mentality. You have to have different skills and you have to be focused on different things.
Right.
Maybe talk about that. Maybe we're not talking like net new. We're talking about an established business that's trying to go from, let's say, a few 100,000 to or 1 million to 5 million or 5 million
Right.
to 10 or and
Yep.
maybe keep it in that maybe more tangible zone because
Yep.
once you get to 10, you're a big deal. Like like for if you're a CEO in the smaller company, you're getting a big deal, not like the top one of the 1%, but you're getting to a pretty good company that you're
Mhm.
running. And it's a different maybe conversation that would be too isolated. But now to focus on that maybe midsection, that early, hey, this company seems to have potential and you're going to run it.
Yeah.
What's maybe a top 3 do and a top 3 don't?
Yep. So, and by the way, I think even 10 to 20 is probably the same, but there are a couple of levers when you're growing your business. And at that scale of a single digit millions, let's say, it's talent. We don't have the money to invest in systems. So talent is going to drive your answer. And so you need to use a golf analogy, over club the shot every time on talent. I think I need somebody right at X level and I want to pay 62,000 bucks a year. Go find an A plus performer and pay them 90. And you will be amazed at what those people will do for your business. So early days, bring in better talent than you deserve, probably better talent than you can afford, and let them go. Now, within that, I want to say, don't be dazzled by the resume. So one of the real don'ts that we see, so that's a do, over club the shot, over hire, pay them what they're worth. The data on A players is A players get paid approximately 20% more than B players, average performers, if you will, but they produce 70% more. So I pay 20 and I get 70. Well worth it. On the don't side, don't get dazzled by the resume. And this happens all the time. I talk to a guy or gal who's running a smaller company in that range, and they go, oh my God, she went to MIT and then she worked at Google, and now she's going to come and work here. It's amazing. And here's the problem. They have no idea how to work in a small company. None. Like when you run a big business and you drop a pencil, there's 6 people running to go get the pencil and bring it back to you. You're in a small company, you go, hey, the toilet's backed up. Can you jump in there and plunge it, right? So they don't do work. And we have this concept of working manager versus pure manager. As they scale, hundreds of millions, billions, there are pure managers. I just, move the chess pieces around. And
Yeah.
at that size, if you're not a working manager, like a little bit of management, a lot of work, like lifting and hauling, you are not an interesting person. So the resume, they get, oh my God, what a great background. They worked with this big company. And my answer is, and they have no idea how to work in a company your size.
Well,
So I want
is there an exception to that rule where the person comes in and goes, I don't like big companies because I can't do enough. I'm too focused on a cog in the wheel, or I'm too feel like my role is too narrow, but I feel like I can do more. And that's why I want to, and they're conscious about it. Like I want to be able to unclog the toilet. It'd be a great analogy to use in the interview, by the way. If I fill the toilet full of poo, I'll be the one to unclog it and then make sure other people are ready to go. I mean, not wipe down the bowl unless the tools are there. But anyway, the point is,
Oh my God.
but the idea is if someone comes in, hey, listen, I tried that. I get it. I was smart enough to get there, but I don't like that big culture. I think that might be an exception to it. Like be realistic.
Once in a while, as long as
Yeah.
they really, really mean it. I mean, I would have liked to have seen them have a little bit of small company experience because I hear that voice track and I want to see the do track. So voice, what I talk to the talk to do ratio has to be in alignment. So I hear you. And I'm like, okay, that's positive. Now, how do we verify that that's real? Show me some examples where you dug in and got your hands dirty. Show me, if I saw that, because the number one thing that tells you somebody's going to be successful in the future is that they've been successful in the past. So show me how you use that go do in the past, and I'll believe you're going to do the go do in the future.
I'd like to extend that idea. And I challenge this to my kids sometimes. I doubt they'll see every podcast. It's out there forever now, right? So,
yeah.
But I do say to my kids sometimes, like, if you expect to be super successful in anything you do in your first run at it, you're tricking yourself.
Yeah.
Like, Jordan didn't win an NBA challenge, and he got cut from his high school basketball team, right? Like,
yeah.
My point is, like, if you don't have what it takes to put in the 1% effort every day to kind of keep getting better, just stop being disappointed and being disappointed because you just expect it because that's what's going to happen because you're just less. And natural talent will take you so far, but passion drive will outperform you in some very rare exceptions. But like, anyway, the point is, if you're out there and this is your first venture as an entrepreneur, anyway, I will say this. I don't agree with I love Alex Hormozy and I love these Gary V's and these guys. I don't agree with some things they say with entrepreneurship, specifically around success and CEOs and like how to run a company, because they're always focused on the unicorn because that's what they're looking for. And it's serving their own need. Right. And it's okay. I love that that's their thing. But the truth is, if you can find a way to help replace your own potential W-2 income as a CEO, you're doing great for an individual. If you can create a role that's awesome for somebody, they love to be there and they get to avoid a shitty corporate place and they get to get paid what they would have made or even more, you're killing it no matter what size your company is. And if you have that mentality of, I want to build something that people love to be here, then as you grow, your leadership does it. And I think what you're describing is at different stages, it takes a different kind of leader. But if you can kind of focus on that, people that you bring the right people in and they want to be here and they're all in for it, but they're smart enough to also, balance, right? That's how you do it. Yeah. Right. Is that what you're describing?
It's talent led. And here's the thing. If you bring A players in, because over time you need to become a little more process oriented. If you ever read the E-Myth or the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Yeah. Work on it, not in it. Right.
Yeah, there you go. But he talks about processes to run your business, and that's what allows it to scale to the next level. When you're young and dumb, you don't do those because, first of all, it's not very fun and it costs money and it distracts from making revenue happen. But here's what's cool: you bring A players, real high performers in, they'll do it the dumb way once, and then they'll go, well, that was dumb. We're not going to do it like that again, and they'll start deploying process to make their lives easier because, like, I'm going to do it the smart way next time. Sorry, boss. And they will build process over time. So people say, does process come first or do the people come first? My answer is really good people will intrinsically build process for you because they just don't want to do it stupid very, very long. Like, there's a better way. There's a whole managerial content called discontent with the status quo. My son has this, like, he's an 11 out of 10. We're standing in line at a rental car and he's going, why don't they have 3 people up front? They got 2 people there and they got 1 person there and they could change the staffing and this would all go a lot faster. And like,
I might be a 40 on that scale.
But those are the people you want because they won't do it twice dumb. They'll go.
I won't even stay in the line. Here's my idea. I've been yelled at before. I can take that. If I get what I need and just, why are you cutting? Like, just 1 second. And I get what I need. I'm like, hey guys, make up some shit. I don't care as long as I get my car. I am that guy that doesn't always do it, but sometimes the 40 out of 10 comes out. I'm like, I'm not waiting in this line. I'm going to cut in front of everyone only because I'm a giant asshole in this moment. I cannot stand the fact they're completely disorganized and everyone accepts it. So I'm just not accepting. Okay, that's not my wife. So you wouldn't do that. I'm like, honey, you don't always travel with me.
Yeah. There you go.
Like, you ever lined up at the airport?
So is that way I see your picture at the Avis dealer? Like, don't mention this guy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Screw Avis. Enterprise only. We're not going to talk about that. It's not a true story.
Yeah.
What was I
Okay, it
asking?
was Hertz. I'm
Have
sorry.
you ever
I
written a
tried
book?
to protect the innocent.
Have you written a book on this?
I wrote a book called Great CEOs Are Lazy. And the whole idea is that if you find, think about a garden hose. If there's a kink in the hose that's stopping the water flowing, the only useful work is find the kink and open it up. Same thing's true in your business. There's something that's preventing you from achieving the goals you have, revenue, profit, people served, whatever.
The
The
leader.
job of the CEO, what's that?
The leader.
Well, could be, right? But the job of the leader is to find the point of constraint, find the kink in the hose, open it up. And
Yeah.
all the work that we do that is not at the point of constraint is actually useless. It's wasted. It doesn't grow the business because the point of constraint controls everything. Until you fix that, you're not going to grow anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's what the book is about. And if you do that, you don't have to work 80 hours a week. You can work rational numbers of hours and get really, really interesting things done because you're working at the right place.
I'll have you maybe in the chat here, the private chat here, drop your link to your book. I'll put it in the comments. It's
Yep.
it's out there. Of other books, like what's maybe one or two that if you're a CEO in a company that you're trying to grow, what are the one or two books besides the one you mentioned, of course, of yours, that you should absolutely read?
Old book, Marketing is Warfare, is a good book. It talks about needing to find a niche for your business, particularly when you're small. You're not going to go beat up on the big guys. You're going to have to find a foxhole and win in it, and that's a big one for sure. What else do I like? That's good. Lean Startup is solid for early stage companies. I've seen startups that have like a lot of money and they get kind of fat and sloppy. When you don't have any money, you get really smart about how you use your money, and they turn out better companies ultimately, I think. So these, hey, I got $100 million check. Let's get a big office and a pool table and a ping pong table and free sushi, and it has nothing to do with growing the business. But you're like, hey, we better hustle. We're not going to make payroll. It has a way of focusing the mind on the business and really.
Well, ironically, that's what happens at the end of the A round when you run out of money. That's why you get bridge rounds. I will say I won't challenge, but I'll say the office ping pong table makes sense if you're trying to get the right talent who needs those things.
I agree. I could have kept going and saying, pick up your dry cleaning and all the stuff that Google does, right? Not everybody should be doing that.
I would argue Google shouldn't either, and lower the cost of some of the other shit for us to use more of their stuff. Anyway, people, I don't know. There was a company my wife used to work for. They'd give them, they had a whole kitchen for gourmet lunch. They do it, and the reason they did that is so people would eat at their desk and work.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like, do you not see that you should probably go outside for 30 minutes and go get lunch or come back and sit in a park bench or something? Anyway, it's like, it's great, it's enticing, but it's designed. It was the same, by the way, same people who do Googles.
Yeah. Oh, do they?
Yeah, it's the same group that do Google.
Why did they pick up your dry cleaning? So you don't go anywhere to go pick up your dry cleaning.
Exactly. So you don't get distracted and leave, and next thing you're like, I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah.
And so the great CEOs are lazy. Just check it here. I'll put the link out there, guys, in the comment. Very, very cool book. Talk to me about the future a little bit. Let's look at some trends that are going on in your industry. Anything kind of exciting, concerning that you're keeping an eye on?
Maybe two. Our model is face to face. We meet face to face, and there are a lot of businesses that have a face to face element to them. And during COVID, we go, well, geez, why would any face to face thing work anymore? We'll just get on Zoom and have a cocktail and it'll all be good. But humans desire real human connection, and a big percentage of communication occurs, body language, body positioning, and we don't even know we're reading the body, but we are. And so virtual will not replace face to face. In some places it will. Like, for example, a lot of people say, hey, used to be I would hop on a plane to go meet with people. And now I go, maybe this could be a Zoom meeting, right? So it has had that negative effect on the travel industry. So that's one. Face-to-face will not fully replace virtual. But the other one is AI, of course, and everybody's talking about it. Our positioning on it is great human augmentation. It will not fully replace humans for a while. And even then, it's going to be in fairly structured environments. There's some accounting tasks. They're in deep merit. There's some simple legal contract writing stuff. That's not going to be done by a $500 an hour lawyer anymore. It's going to be done by AI. So there's a lot of fairly routine stuff. But here's the problem. and you can fiddle with the settings, but AI hallucinates. I don't know if you knew this, but I did a paper once and I said, write me one chapter, I gave it all the specs, and it cited 2 papers. And I had read everything in this space, 400, 500, 600 papers. I knew every paper. I'm like, holy God, these are amazing papers it found. How the heck did I miss these? They're like perfect. Well, I went and tried to find them. It made them up. It said, well, there should be a paper by Helfrich and Schleckser on this topic. There should be. There wasn't. But and this happens. It makes things up. There's another case in New Jersey where a lawyer used AI to write his brief.
Several, actually. I think it was
There you go. And the judge who knew the space goes, oh my gosh, this case he's citing.
Right. If this case existed, every case in the planet would be overturned. Wait, there's something here.
And he went and checked. Doesn't exist. He cited the lawyer. And so you got to be careful for let's say the AI says the surgery should be done this way. I want a human checking that before anybody cuts my body, for example. So you got to be a little careful with AI. It's not the solution. So what we've seen is a trend towards, as opposed to large language models that are like the be all, do all, ChatGPT 4.0, there are these small language models that are coming out. They're less computer processing intensive, which is a big problem. And they solve particular problems like take the invoice and the bill and the PO and match it with the vendor in our database. And if it's true, cut a check or recommend a check get cut and a human can check it. Well, that's that's a clerical job, and AI can do it as good or better than a person can. So that's a little teeny program that does that, but that's AI.
But that's not good. And I think AI is not going to take away leadership of human. As an augmentator of, it starts simple, right? Like, hey, I have an agitated customer. I have this. Here's all the context. Can you help me write an email that kind of accomplishes this, this, and this? I use that to perfection because oftentimes it's unbelievable how much it shuts down the thread. It's like, my goal is to shut down this thread with this outcome and defend this position. Here's all the context. It's unbelievably good at doing that. And if you're not using it for that, you're missing an opportunity to really diffuse situations, advance it, protect your revenue. Like we use it sometimes, like, well, we'd really like a discount. And we say, totally. And we go like, but here's why we don't. Here's the value of what you get. And you got to decide what, and it's like flip the script on them and it's like amazing. And that's like, yeah, you're right. And it's like, oh, thank God that worked. I was about to discount that. Don't get any ideas, people. I never do. I just always find new emails to send you. But I think AI is a big
battle with the AIs.
But here's the thing: even if you got another pandemic and we have, let's say, a different level of, hey guys, just kind of reduce interactions while it's in season, whatever it is, right? It might happen again.
Yeah.
I think our lifetimes it does. I don't think we'll see quite the extreme reaction, but people are so comfortable then with the Zooms, it'll come back to humans at some point again. Yeah. And I think more. I mean, I know I want to get out there more and more, but my world's been set up like I wouldn't have you on the podcast. I'd have to have a studio. You'd have to fly in, and I'd love to do that model. But the truth is, it's expensive, and I'd have to charge for the show like a crazy amount and create a whole different experience base for you. And I wouldn't be able to get as many people to meet. And so I think there's places for it based on what your business is, and doing mine being an extreme, right? It's a podcast, video, and other people though is getting around people that are local and peers. There's something different when you're really hearing them. If it's like, you can hear where there's real pain, and sometimes you pick up tonality of like, hey, wait, why did you kind of like put the quotes up for that one? Like, well, here's the real, like, HR is going to do X, Y, and Z, or sales always does this. You got to be conscious of these things. And then there's a whole like thinking line that they've already processed and came back with. Anyway, so I'm talking too much. It's your turn.
No, I'm just sitting here agreeing with you. So
I mean, but I'm thinking like, I love the idea of these small groups. Maybe just a kind of a semi. I love shameless plugs, but I think just as a real question, what's it take to get into your group? Because you don't accept everybody. You're like a top 1% of actual candidates, and they don't. And you may not take the best CEOs on the planet because they might be, like you said, assholes. So what's it take to get into your group?
Well, first is revenue. We're looking for in excess of $20 million of revenue in your business. We're looking for, from a sort of personal point of view, performers. They're growth oriented. They're humble. So perform and humble, that combination is a little tough to get sometimes. Learners, like I would have a conversation about books, and they go, I don't really read any books. Okay, that's a small problem, right? How do you learn? How do you get better at your job? And even more, if you're not getting better as a CEO, how do you expect the people in your company to get better? Isn't that kind of a problem? And so anyway, so learners really important, but even more important, the ability to take very direct feedback, because it will be, there's a good book, Kim Scott's book called Radical Candor. She talks about direct feedback from a place of compassion, from a place of love, effectively. If I do that, people take it. Like, dude, your tie looks silly. I mean, you really need to rethink your look, right? I mean, for example,
I'm committed on it. There's a whole cover of a book coming out called
I know you're committed to the tie. I know.
It doesn't matter if I like it or not at this point.
But there's a way to say that I'd be a total jerk with no compassion, no humor. You'd be like, that guy's a jerk, right?
By the way, it's funny on a personal brand how important that is, right?
No, you own the cut blue tie, man.
Even for you. No, what I mean is like, so if my personal brand I put out there and you met me is completely different, and before someone comes in your group, you're going to check them out. You're going to go look at LinkedIn, and I tell people this all the time. Is a company that we work directly with people to show them how to use LinkedIn correctly for instantly relevant. How little people sometimes put into their personal brand, how it needs to match the meeting, or there's an unconscious discontinuation of trust.
Absolutely.
And I tell people, like, the reason you see me with this background is because when I show up, it's exactly like the picture you just look like. And I change it every 30, 60 days with something new, because I want it to look the most like me right now, no matter how good or bad I look. And so hopefully I don't get poked in the eye, become a pirate. But the idea being is that's super important when you're trying to build trust and you're trying to get in your group. Every little of these details, I know you're looking at. I know I look at them when we look at guests and stuff, is like, who is this person? Because if they're P. Diddy, I don't want them on the show, no matter how famous they are, right? I mean, I don't need the P. Diddy of CEOs. Or the Epstein.
I see it in
I don't know
LinkedIn.
why I just went down that road. I was just thinking.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you off it here. I see it on LinkedIn. Like when
we'll use those words.
When I connect somebody, I can watch. So and so looked at your profile. So and so agreed to connect. So every damn time before they connect with you, they go look at your profile. And if the profile is found wanting for whatever you're trying to do with them, they go, yeah, no, that's not the guy I want to talk to. Click, nope. So it is the 15, 30-second way of figuring out if somebody's credible. And if your LinkedIn profile does not present professional or whatever you're after, you're toast. You're 100%.
I mean, mine does not present professional by standard.
Well, but you're going for a different vibe. So
I'm going for hey, let me help you cut the tie, some shit holding you back. So
if
you don't need any help, great. See, the one thing I love about like what you're doing and how I love how it's on the show here, because it is absolutely like the groups I'm going to refer people to. Hey, if you need specifically CEO leadership, go to this group. Like, this is the one that I can say verifiably that is good, and should do that. Like, and we don't do that. I mean, I research our guests too. You guys are legit. You're 20 years in. You guys are your personal brand and feel is in the group. Like, I've asked people in your circles of like, how is it really in this? You guys check out. And so I would just as a kind of an endorsement for whatever it's worth, I would definitely, if you're looking to become a CEO leader and you're in that space, you got to check you guys out. Do you want to do your shameless plug as well? So I know I wasn't trying to do that unintentionally. I do mean it. Like, you guys are a really great organization, and there are a lot of CEO organizations, some of which are incredibly salesy. If you feel like they're being sold, don't join those. Period. You're going to get massively.
Talk to them. We explore. Like, hey, this may or may not fit. Let's talk. Right. Okay. It's funny. I got asked. Not that you just got me thinking about it. I got asked this a couple of years ago. I was looking to buy a small company. They go, "Can we have any references?" I go, how about 150 CEOs? They'll all tell you we do great work, every single one of them. So how many, just pick a name. They're all good. So funny that you checked them out.
All right. So just describe who you want to get a hold of you and where you want them to do that.
You got it. So if you are running a company over $20 million of revenue, maybe it's the biggest company you've run, or you're a new CEO, or you just want to learn and become a better CEO because you want to grow it to 50 or $100 million, we're a perfect place for you to come and talk. You can meet us and find our information at theceoproject.com, or you can email me directly at jim@theceoproject.com, and we'll get right back to you and have a conversation. And if there's a fit, great. And if not, we'll part friends.
I like that. Well, don't offer the friend card. Make them earn that one.
We might part friends.
Everyone's giving the friend zone around you. We have a chance to talk again.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Tom,
if there's a question I should
You're
ask.
A sweet guy, but I just don't feel I just don't
see
feel
you coming over for a dinner party anytime soon. And it's probably the right answer. Remember, I smell nice though.
Yeah, well, so do I. So we both got that going for
And
us,
the chance of me wearing a nice
which is
shirt
nice.
is pretty good. I mean, I did have lost some weight, so I'm like wearing these tighter shirts now. And
Nice.
the random facts about me that just pop up. If there was a question I should have asked you, but did not, what is that question I should have asked you?
You should have asked me why I wrote a book about wine.
I didn't know you wrote a book about wine.
Ah,
But here's the thing. I am I'm really curious. Did you write a book about wine, and what's it about?
I did.
Did you say that question came out of nowhere?
It was
We're gonna
amazing.
edit that out,
Yeah,
and
just
it's just gonna be me asking the question. I'm not gonna
genius
do it.
quality.
All right, so why so you're a wine do you have the
Well,
cellar and all that kind of thing, or what's going on?
yeah, I'm into the whole thing. I became a certified sommelier because I'm a
Oh, wow.
huge learner. Just I love to learn, right? So I became a certified sommelier, which takes some time. And I'm like, all right, great. Now what am I going to do with this? I'm not going
Wait,
to
for
go
you
on.
beer drinkers, could you explain what that is?
Sorry, sommelier is somebody, a wine steward or a wine person. When you go to a restaurant and they hand you the big thick book full of wine, they go, and somebody comes over, can I help you pick a wine? Yeah, usually that's a sommelier. This is in a better restaurant on average, and they'll help you. What are you having for dinner? Well, let's get a red, and what do you like? And then they'll recommend a wine to you. And they're designed to be helpful. They're designed to improve your experience. They're designed to, frankly, also sell wine, by the way, because wine has a very high markup. So it's helpful to the restaurant to have that individual, but they know everything about wine. So there's 4 levels. I'm level 2. There was a famous show on Netflix called Somm, and it talks about trying to become level 4 sommeliers, which is insane. Anyway, so I got this certification. I'm like, great. I'm not going to work in a restaurant. What do I do? I go, well, I've been business entertaining for 30 years. Why don't I combine what I know about wine and what I know about business entertaining and write a book on it? And that's the book. It's called Professional Drinking.
Oh.
Who knew it was a job, right?
Well, no, I've definitely. So as somebody who quit drinking August 15th of 2023, by the way, it sounds so bad. It sounds like I had a problem. I was driving drunk and I was slow. I just felt like every time I tried to take the edge off, I was losing my edge.
Yeah.
And like social drinking even. So I just quit, and man, it's been a game changer for me. I feel like I'm 25 again in my brain. I'm no fog every morning. I don't mind going to bed at any. I don't like going late to bed, but I'm not like, oh my God, tomorrow morning's gonna suck. I haven't thought that in over a year. You know how powerful that is to hit your day with. It's gonna take me till noon. All I'm gonna think about is a nap. Or you start clearing out pieces in your account, and you're like, I'm closing, first 2 meetings, I'm just going to cancel now tonight.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't do any of that anymore. It's
nap
crazy.
time. Yeah. Well, I don't either. And rule number 1, the first chapter is don't get drunk ever in a business situation, ever. So, moderation.
It's a good rule. Hard to live by.
Sometimes, but you can be a non-drinker and still entertain clients around wine or appreciate what's going on. And I've had Mormon climate clients, and they don't drink, and that's totally cool. And so it works.
Works for you, losers. Yeah, it's good. Hey, listen, thank you so much, by the way, just for coming on today. I can't imagine someday you're going to exit, but it's going to be because you just want to, and not because you have to. And it's like,
I love what I do. I love what I do.
I mean, like clearly the passion's there. It's not, and it's a great business model. And I'm sure, and we didn't get into kind of your journey a little bit, because I think what you're discussing for CEOs and the thinking is way more important than your journey, because it's a hard business to build because it's so integrated and trust driven that you start with 3 and then it's 10. And then a year later, you're like, oh man, I'm not gonna, then it's like, well, do I want to go to 100? And next thing you're at, 200. You're like, shit, is it too big now? I mean, like and then you got to change your business model along the way. And that's not as relevant to what you're doing, only that the outcome now 20 years later is that you got a model in place that actually helps CEOs get better. And that's why I love that you come on and just, you've got it. And you have a professional drinking book. If anything, just go do a tour about that. How to be a professional.
We should have just led with that and forgotten the whole business thing. Yeah.
All right. Last question. What is your bucket list bottle of wine, and do you own it?
Oof.
It has to be drinkable. Like it has to exist. Like it can't be like, I wish I had the bottle Jesus
Well,
had. You can't be that. Like,
grail bottle, if you will. My father bought ages ago. I got a case of Chateau Mouton Rothschild, which is like one of the best wines on the whole planet. It was a 1982 bottles. And over time, we drank the whole case, right? Every time I come home from college or whatever. And that is a 100-point perfect, whatever the heck a perfect wine is. And I've had it once since then. And it's probably still drinkable. It was that good a wine that it's probably still drinkable. I would love to get it. And I don't own one. I would love to get, because it's probably $6,000 for a bottle of wine, which I slightly below my price point, or above my price point, pardon me. So anyway, 1982 Mouton Rothschild. If anybody wants to donate, I'll get you
What's
my
a
address.
bottle like that cost?
Well, $6,000 easy. 10.
All right, so that's easy, guys. It's a write-off. Have fun.
I'll
Jim.
trade you management coaching for it.
Actually, it would be probably a really good trade for whoever do it. They'd probably get like 100x on their return on that.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't like wine. You're like, I have this bottle. I'll take the coaching. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim, so much for coming on. I'm going to put you in the blue room here. I'll be right back. Okay.
Love it.
Hey, thank you for everyone who's listened and just kind of joined in for the day. If this is your first time here, I hope it's the first of many. I really am personally committed to helping entrepreneurs get better entrepreneurship. I want more of them in the world. I think it's great for, let's be selfish. It's great for the U.S. I want more people in the U.S. to be entrepreneurs because we have so much opportunity to do that. And it's hard. So you do need to learn from people. You're going to have to get out there and kind of cut some ties, so to speak, the things you believe, things you expect, the senses of entitlement. You got to get rid of all that shit, and you got to go be. And so as you get up higher and you become the leader of a bigger company, guys like Jim's, you got to reach out to at the ceoproject.com. Thank you again so much. Till we meet again, get out there and go unleash your entrepreneur.